All right, let's get right into it. If you feel like you keep ending up in situations with toxic people over and over again, I want you to know something right up front. It is not just bad luck. And it is definitely not some kind of personal failing. What we're going to break down today is the very real psychology behind why this pattern happens. You know that feeling like you're walking around with a giant, invisible sign on your back that only difficult people can see? It's so frustrating, and if it's happening to you again and again, well, that's because there's a specific dynamic at play. It is absolutely not a coincidence.
So to really get this, we have to start by tearing down a super common and honestly a really damaging myth that so many of us have come to believe about ourselves.
And this right here, this is the core misunderstanding. We tend to internalize this whole pattern, and that little voice in our head starts saying, they must see me as weak. But the reality is something else entirely. Toxic people aren't necessarily looking for weakness. What they're really looking for is predictability. They are absolute experts at spotting people whose reactions they can guess ahead of time, because if they can predict you, they can control you.
So that begs the question, right? Why would our patterns be so predictable in the first place? Well, the answer is deep inside us. It's actually wired into our own nervous system. There's a concept for this, but we can just call it familiar pain. And understanding this is the key to unlocking the whole cycle.
Think about it like this. Your nervous system's #1 job is survival. And to do that job, it often gets familiar confused with safe. So if you grew up in an environment where there was chaos or constant criticism or just emotional ups and downs, your system can unconsciously start seeking out those same feelings in your adult life. Not because you like it, but simply because it's what you know. It's like having a faulty emotional compass. And that pull towards what's familiar is exactly what makes your reactions so predictable. You're just replaying an old script, which means a manipulative person can easily guess your next line.
So because of this deep internal wiring, we can end up sending out these signals without even realizing it. They're like these subtle, unspoken invitations that the wrong kind of person is expertly trained to pick up on. And one of the biggest signals we send actually comes from one of our greatest strengths, our empathy. But here's the catch, and this quote just nails it. Empathy without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. See, being a good, caring person is never the problem. The problem is when that incredible empathy isn't protected.
So here's exactly how that trap works. It starts with you just doing what comes naturally. You offer someone genuine compassion. But then a manipulative person will test that. They'll push just a little. And if they don't meet a firm boundary, they sense an opening. From there, it's all about your nonverbal cues. Things like apologizing when you did nothing wrong, or struggling to say a simple no without a huge explanation. All those little behaviors send a powerful signal that your kindness can be exploited.
And once you're in that dynamic, this right here is the engine that keeps it running. Intermittent reinforcement. The best way to think of it is like a slot machine. You get just enough of the reward, those little moments of kindness or affection, to keep you hooked and pulling the lever through all the punishment. It creates this incredibly powerful emotional addiction to the highs and lows, which is what makes it so hard to walk away.
Okay, so we've looked at the pattern, we've busted the myth, and we've seen the trap. Now for the most important part, how you make the shift. And this isn't about changing who you are at your core. It's about becoming a repellent to those who would take advantage of your good nature.
So here's the beautiful flip side. If toxic people are drawn to your predictability, you repel them by becoming predictable in your self-protection. Consistency and boundaries, these are the ultimate repellents. They're like garlic to a vampire for these personalities. They need chaos and blurry lines to operate. When they encounter someone with clear, unwavering standards, they just lose interest and move on to find an easier target.
You know, ultimately it all boils down to this. And this isn't just a nice-sounding phrase, it's a functional truth. When you truly start to cultivate self-respect, your boundaries become a natural extension of that. You start making different choices, and the kind of people you allow into your inner circle, it just changes, dramatically.
And remember, you can't change a pattern you don't even know exists. So, just by being here, listening to this, and understanding these dynamics, the myth, the familiar pain, the trap, you've already taken the single most important step. This awareness is the key. It's what unlocks your ability to end this cycle for good. So I'm going to leave you with one final thought, which is really a question for you to take with you. Now that you're aware of the signals and you know these patterns can be broken, you're the one holding the power. So who will you give access to now?